Good evening. It's time to talk again. On this live, we wanted to address a number of particular items. Well, first of all, sorry we haven't had a live in the past week and a half. We've been on the road, and right now we're, excuse me, doing a live from a very secret and remote location in northern and northeastern Romania. We've been traveling a lot, going to a number of monasteries, and we've been talking with priests and monks here. And all in the same mission that we have since the end of last summer. And talking to them about exorcisms, about spiritual practices, about the ancient practices of the Ordo Dracul, and magic, and religious belief, and spiritual belief. And so we're here in this remote location now, where you're listening to me, and we decided tonight was a good time to do a live, finally, to get in touch with you guys. And first of all, we want to recognize and describe a couple of things related to what you're hearing about the 610-year anniversary of the Ordo Dracul. This is true. Sometime in and about December 12th, 1408, at least according to recorded history, Emperor Sigismund and his wife founded what was known as the League, known as the Order of the Dragon. And its purpose was to follow other chivalric orders of that day that had been very popular. I mean, how many movies have we all seen, regarding chivalry orders, from King Arthur right on through. And the reason for the order was to follow in the tradition of the Great Crusades and to found a chivalric order that could protect the land against potential and incursions and attacks that could come. So, not dragging that out. Now, in history's sense, the Order of the Dragon was known by many names, many different sections of the order, depending upon where it was located, because there were different arms in different nations in different areas. And all of that, and the point I'm getting to is, has very little to do with what the Order of the Dragon is, according to most people today. The Ordo Dracul, our Ordo Dracul, is the spiritual and magical arm of the order that has always been in existence. But it is not Emperor Sigismund's Order of the Dragon, as you might be told it is, or you might suppose it is. And we really want to make clear some items that, while we do honor the founding of the order 610 years ago and what it has brought about in terms of its spiritual arm, our order, the Ordo Dracul, is not Emperor Sigismund's original order of the dragon. We are not fighting on crusades against enemies of Christianity. We're not following the dictates of the founding of that order as it was 610 years ago. We are the spiritual arm that was always a part of the Ordo Dracul. The same spiritual arm that's been practiced and that's been followed for countless generations here throughout this part of the world. And regardless of what some people might think, it has always been in existence, but it's been a secret order. I know I've talked about this before, but it's important for me to do it again, especially with all the talk that's coming out right now. In this, to settle that issue, we want to make it clear again, because this issue keeps rising up. The Ordo Dracul is not a vampire coven. Do I have to say that again? We are not a vampire coven. So many of the other clans and so many other covens and gatherings who are supposing that we're functioning as a vampire coven, we are not. We are a coven of witches, priests, priestesses, monks, occultists, and yes, vampires. There are vampires in our midst. But we're all gathered together for one common purpose. And that's illumination. It's to increase our individual and collective vibrations. It's to work on our collective and individual spirits. It's to make ever better and ever more powerful and ever more intense and more focused our magic, our magical abilities, our magical and ritual practices, our spiritual abilities, and how these augment our life individually and collectively. This is why we're on these tours, supposedly. You know, we're going around Romania and we're talking with other sections of Europe too, and America, about spiritual abilities, practices, what different religious followings believe, why they're doing, and you know exactly what their history is. What are the ancient texts that they follow, as well as ourselves? You know, why are we doing this? We're doing this to, as best as we can, to make available to everyone, not just through our academy that's forming, which certainly this will help with the academy, but we're doing this to augment and to better and to make more powerful our collective and individual lives. And that is the purpose of the Ordo Dracul. That is the Ordo Dracul today. That's our Ordo Dracul, which is why I keep saying, can't tell you how many times I've had to say this to people. The Ordo Dracul really is about helping people. We help in spiritual ways. We help in the practice of magic. And we do this in many ways. You know, we teach and we try to guide and we learn ourselves about ritual, different kinds of ritual, more intensive, more ever greater rituals, practicing meditations of many types. You know, if you don't have some kind of a meditation practice, if you don't have an inner sense of yourself, your magic is going to be nothing. Zip. It's going to be zero. And you're going to find it like a deflated air balloon that just falls out of the sky. We, as an order, practice, excuse me, we exercise and expand our consciousness in these ways through the practice of ritual and meditation, both individually and collectively. And in this, I just want to talk for a minute about comfort zones, because I think it's easy to get caught into our own individual and what we find as our comfort zones. You know, a lot of us, and a lot of you out there, I'm not targeting anybody, I'm just saying you, everybody. It's easy to get caught into a pattern. It's easy to get caught into being comfortable in a chair or in a room. You know, living online. I mean, online is a great place to be, and there's a lot of things you can do, there's a lot of things you can find. Life isn't online. Life is an active process. Life is footwork. Life is, like I posted recently, it's about getting off your behind, get off your ass, and, you know, stand up, be somebody, do something, become something greater. Be something greater. That's what this is all about. It's about becoming, not just being. Yeah, you know, we're trying to work with people as well as working with ourselves on connecting in ever greater ways to those deities, the angels, archangels, or or what have you that you look to and you pray to. And if you're an atheist, that's, and if you practice atheist Satanism, it's the same way for you. You look inward. You look inward for the power you're seeking. Trust your instincts. Trust what you feel. Your instincts are intimately and wholeheartedly who and what you are. Too many people today don't trust their instincts as much as maybe they should. We've had to pull our reins in the order recently, and we've had to do it because of our instincts, because we found what we were feeling was true. And, all of you do the same things in your lives. And with regard to magical practice, and a large part of the academy is related to magic, and interestingly enough, the more we talk with monks and priests in the old world here, it's incredible the amount of theology and the ancient history they have that they refer to the practice of magic in the old world as being connected to religious practice and spiritual practice. I'll talk spiritual in terms of that. Well, and in almost every conversation we had and we've conferred about, the same statement kept coming back to me, as Magus Anton LaVey said so well, that if you want your magic to work, and if you want magical practice to really work, you need to get to the point where you practice your magic with 110% of all of your being. Put everything you've got into it. You don't ritual for 5 minutes and then think about it halfway and then forget about it and then go out and get drunk, or you go out and party. What he was saying was, put all of your being, all of your effort, and all of your commitment into your magical practice. The same, I would say, is true of your meditations, of your rituals. Get to the point where you put 110, 120, 150% of your total commitment into what you're doing. Exhaust yourself, as Anton LaVey once said. Really, you need to put so much of yourself into your magical practice. You put everything you've got. Exhaust yourself with that ritual and with that magical incantation. Then, let it go. Let the universe work. Don't try to reprogram what you've put out there. Don't try to reprogram a magical practice or a ritual once you've done it. See, because when you do, you're negating everything you've done up to that point. And you're taking it and you're shit-canning it and throwing it out the window. Anton LaVey knew this. Many magical practitioners knew this. Laurie Cabot, fantastic practitioner, very... she's a friend, and many of the Cabots are friends. And their practice talks about this. Many Hermetic forms and other forms talk about really committing yourself and then getting into it and then letting it go. Let things evolve and work. Let things create. But when you do it, you've got to believe it. If you don't believe it, it's going to be like this. You're going to work it, and then it's going to become nothing. So, while we do celebrate an anniversary here tonight, we encourage everyone to please focus ever greater and ever more committedly your ritual, your practices, and your commitment to yourself and your community and your coven, wherever and whatever they are. Not necessarily Ordo Dracul. There's a lot of faces watching this out there, and there's going to be. Become the best you can. And the thing about that is, it never stops. You always can get better. Everything can get better, and that's breaking out of the box. Don't be afraid to break out of your box. We do it every day. So, with that, we will be back with more lives, I promise. We've been very busy, and there's been a lot of stuff going on. And there'll be more to come. So, everyone have a great night and a magnificent coming weekend. Good night.